Let's go!
I can't control what these people think.
The haters are not going to like this, but Jalen Hurts is one of the best Super Bowl quarterbacks of all time. 2 for 2 torching the great Spags. Are you kidding me? And we start off this breakdown here with Jalen extending this play, beating Karloff this year on the contain right here, and rolling out and giving himself a better angle on the scramble drill to Devonta Smith. Ridiculous stuff. Let's move ahead to the 4th and 2. And I understand this ended up not counting, but goodness gracious, what a play by Jalen Hurts. There are so many quarterbacks that won't throw this pass because, well, it's somewhat a low percentage play on 4th and 2, right? You don't need to pick up all the yards here, but when you have A.J. freaking Brown, you give him a chance, and look at where he placed that football. A lot of that was A.J. getting that push off, but still, good ball location and a first down. All right, so we get this ridiculous play right here from Jalen Hurts, all right? Back to pass, and I love this concept. You could see in all of our preview pieces leading up to this, who did we say the big player for the Eagles was going to be? Dallas Goedert. So what do? All right, vertical here, vertical here. The Chiefs were the worst defense in the NFL in terms of total yards versus tight ends. So you have 2 verticals, a deep over. The deep over was also the route in the last Super Bowl that the Chiefs couldn't stop. Okay, now, this was something I've criticized Steve Spagnuolo on throughout this season defensively, is I understand zone blitzes are a big part of his defense, right? Or simulated pressures. You're bringing a guy from here and you're backing an end out. But, man, I would love to see what the Chiefs' EPA defensively actually is when they drop a defensive end back into coverage, because just anecdotally in my Chiefs film defensive breakdowns, this has been a struggle, right? It always seems like they give up big plays. Look, this one to Saquon would have gone for a lot of yards as well. And Jalen Hurts all day to throw. The Eagles are not fooled by that pressure at all. And look at that. Wide the frick open. All right. What a freaking play right here by Jalen Hurts. First off, this is a beautifully designed pressure. Remember earlier, I told you how much I dislike ends dropping back into coverage. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, whatever. So you get a patented Steve Spagnuolo blitz coming from over here, and Tranquil's job is to come over here and guard Dallas Goedert. You on this. But Jalen Hurts likes this press matchup versus Jahan Dotson. 35 gets flat-footed. Dotson stops and goes, and man, this is such good anticipation right here from Jalen Hurts, okay? He sees that it's a stop and then go, all right? Look at when he actually decides to throw it. Notice he decided to throw it before Dotson was there with this separation. Okay, that's really good anticipation. Trusting your number 12 option to make this catch. It is freaking ridiculous stuff, and it is a touchdown. I don't care they marked him short. All right, fellow Saints fans, how about this? You get 2 offensive linemen out right here, and you get the run game going, right? You have your ends all the way back here, and they give you a few yards. Obviously, weird formation, but you get 4. You get to 3rd and Overland Park, and, man, this is a very exotic pressure. You're bringing a corner at a press man from all the way over here, and you have a delayed pressure up the middle. Man, this is ridiculous stuff right here from Spags. And guess what? Nick Bolton is through here, and Jalen Hurts just forces his up to his guy, and Cook is just over here ready to pick this. A.J. Brown was covered pretty well, and that's a really good diving interception. Wow. Story of the first half was not only the Chiefs' offense sucking, but how good the Eagles were on 3rd and medium. Okay, this is really good stuff by Jalen Hurts. You see, everybody is just sitting right here at the sticks. Well, guess what happens? He just waits for this vertical right here to carry this corner, and he knows that this is going to be man, this is some ridiculous stuff by Jalen Hurts. So Mahomes and company have to punt again. You get some really good pass protection, and Jalen Hurts throws a fade ball right here to A.J. Brown. It's just a ridiculous play. This time, A.J. Brown, no hands on the face of McDuffie, and he makes a huge catch. Alrighty, so we get to this tush push right here from Jalen Hurts. The one thing that's very interesting on how the Chiefs decided to guard this, take a look at Chris Jones. His elbow is actually to the ground right here, and you'll see that the Chiefs trying to point that there was some kind of false start here. Eagles are very still, okay? And the reason why is because, well, you don't need much to get Jalen Hurts in here. I mean, remember, this Chiefs defense did good on short yardage versus Josh Allen, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, I really am starting to think that Jalen is by far the best QB sneak quarterback of all time. 3rd and 8. Sometimes you just get lucky that the first read in your progression is where you actually should go with the football, but we don't know if this was the first read in the progression. So let's just say that Jalen did pick this up. Either way, so 3rd and 8. Man, look at this from Jalen Hurts. Both backers back out of it. Simple 4-man rush, and the way you beat the zone coverage with everybody's legs on the sticks is to beat them with the anticipation. I mean, look at when Jalen is deciding to throw this football. It's right now, okay? And he puts really good ball location on this ball, bang, to allow Devonta Smith to turn upfield, miss that tackle right there from Nick Bolton, and pick up the first down. So as many of you know, I don't do as many Eagles videos as I do Chiefs. This honestly is just an idea, a concept that has won the Kansas City Chiefs a lot of Super Bowls, right? Delaying the releases on your routes, okay? So you're trying to get vertical here, but if they're getting vertical, both Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown cause so much gravity, right? So it's hard to keep track of receivers that stay in to chip, okay? Also, the Chiefs going into this game were not thinking that there was going to be a lot of chips with the offensive tackles being as good as they are. But the chip right here is what creates a lot of separation and space for 83 Jahan Dotson to get open. And that's exactly what happens here. Jalen Hurts, very simple check down. And look at all of this space. Bang. I mean, look at that. All right. Jahan Dotson isn't really that great of a football player, but if you give him that much space, he's going to look good. All right, so, man, this was really good from Jalen Hurts, and once again, the Eagles' offense is a really good matchup versus the Chiefs' defense for this play in particular. You'll see this throughout this Jalen film study. These DTs just get so vertical, right? And if you penetrate, that opens up huge rushing lanes, and it opens up yourself for huge QB draws, right? So you'll see that both defensive tackles go to the inside. That is exactly what the Eagles want you to do here, with the center pulling around and then running a delayed quarterback little draw, but it's actually a power play with the guard or center pulling around and being a lead blocker. You'll see these DTs get stacked, right? Belichick talks about this quite a bit. You never want to get stacked in the same gap. That's essentially where these two DTs are. And look at how much space Jalen has to run through here. And guess what? Boom, easy block there, easy block there. And this actually is a really good tackle in the open field right here by Cook, who's been having a tough postseason. Yeah, protection error right here by Jalen Hurts. And this was obviously the worst play of his on the night. You don't want to be throwing up jump balls like this and taking points off the board. And you also don't want to give up a sack either, because it knocks you out of field goal range. So Jalen just throws this up to A.J. Brown. It's a really good corner blitz, and the safety comes over and just picks this off, right? It's really good stuff right here by Cook, who, like we said, had a tough postseason. And we get to this right here from A.J. Brown. Wide open, on the inbreaker. And what the Chiefs were thinking here is that somebody on this side of the field was going to pick up A.J. Brown on the shallow drag. That is not what happens. Also, Shenault getting burned bad by Goddard again has him running and chasing Ghost. And look at this. Bolton is trying to fight over here to A.J. Brown. He's just never, ever, ever going to get there. And look at that throw right there from Jalen Hurts. Wide open. And A.J. Brown, who was yelling on the sideline, does eventually get his Super Bowl tutty. 3rd and 5. And, man, 35 had a tough night for Kansas City. You'll see right off the jump, he is just so far behind A.J. Brown. Now, it doesn't matter in a way because there is safety help over the top of this, but you had to shade so much coverage to A.J. Brown because he was torching you. Okay, and then you have a shallow drag coming to this side, and if you play man coverage, it just opens up huge rush lanes, especially if both your ends are rushing up the field to get to Jalen Hurts, okay? So Hurts steps up. He's able to run away from George Karlaftis. Nick Bolton, who was right here, runs with Saquon, who's going on a route. And Shenault, who was the QB spy, elected to stay to the right. Normally I like my QB spies to be a little bit more central if you are just a pure QB spy, but Hurts is just too athletic to run away from it, okay? And Jalen, of course, a very talented runner. He doesn't have burners per se, but he's really, really, really good at reading pass rush lanes, and he picks up a huge gain. So at the Super Bowl, I was interviewed by John Boy Media. Now, I don't know if this is going to be released, but man, I said a big key, and this was just, said by everyone, was Nick Bolton and Shenault. And I even thought Nick Bolton was a dark horse MVP candidate. He had such a big game versus Eagles a few years ago. And watch what happens here. DTs get pushed into his lap. 98 has been a liability all year long. But even then, he can't make the arm tackle. Now, the funny thing is, they shut Saquon down all night. But tonight, even with doing that job, Saquon was just too much. In this game, Chris Jones is just so much more effective when you're playing a pocket QB because there's just more you could do as a pass rusher. The problem with Jones in a game like this, and just in general with the Chiefs rush, is that it can get a little too far upfield. And because a part of Spags' defense has always been your forward defensive line being very aggressive, getting upfield to the quarterback, it opens up huge rush lanes. That's not a problem with Tom Brady, but it is a problem when you go up against a guy like Jalen Hurts. And it's a reason why Jalen Hurts in 2 consecutive Super Bowls has torched the best defensive coordinator, arguably in the history of pro football. Here we go, Jalen Hurts. Goodness, I honestly have never been more wrong about any Super Bowl. There was a piece of me thinking that Jalen Hurts going up against Spags for a second time would be a problem. The issue is a lot of Jalen Hurts' strengths go really well against that of a Spagnuolo defense, right? And the Eagles just have so much talent that a lot of the things that Spags does just doesn't work, right? Now we get to the deep touchdown to Devonta Smith. You get a play-action fake right here from Jalen Hurts. Obviously, the Chiefs decided to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley. Look at all this gravity this play-action fake causes right here. 3 Chiefs linebackers pretty much right here on the line of scrimmage. And guess what? Dallas Goedert draws that safety. It's just a straight vertical route from Devonta Smith. And we'll show you the other angle. So this is off the snap. It is just a simple inside release. 35, who missed the first part of the season but came back for playoffs, had about as bad of a game as you could have, as was the case for a lot of the Chiefs secondary. They really struggled during the postseason. It really had been Six Cook, the safety who had been playing poorly. He always does a good job getting back into the play, but it was a little too late as Smith scored. Man, this was a very welcome sight. If you're a Philly fan, Dallas Goedert blocking well. It was an issue in the last Super Bowl matchup here. He missed quite a few blocks this time versus a physical corner. Now, this DB, you can go take a look at our Bills breakdowns. He flattened a guard on a very similar play as this one, a perimeter block, and Goddard just sends 27 Shamar Connor into a different dimension. That is a ridiculous piece of blocking, and that got Saquon the first down. It's really, really, really good stuff. But the focus of this video is Jalen Hurts. He really did some good things on third and medium situations, and that really set the tone for this game. Obviously, he had the pick. There were a few other misses in there, and you had your patented Jalen Hurts throwaways. I was actually fine with the red zone kind of sort of throwaway that was almost caught by Devonta Smith because they were up by 24. This was really good stuff, right? The Chiefs could not stop A.J. Brown yet again. Him on inbreakers also was a backbreaker for the Chiefs in the fourth quarter in the last big game. But, man, you really got to put Jalen Hurts up there now, though, with the best Super Bowl quarterbacks ever, right? The guy has been perfect thus far, and you would like to guess at this juncture that the Eagles will play a third Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts at quarterback because, man, the fact that he goes up against Spags in 2 Super Bowls and lights him up in both is pretty freaking ridiculous. I mean, we've even seen Tom Brady get beaten into a pulp versus a Spags defense. So as Jalen breaks contain and pulls a Nick Walinda on the sideline, I have a crazy comp for you. What if Jalen's career is basically that of Eli Manning? Okay? Obviously, Eli, big time versus an all-time great quarterback. Jalen Hurts, same way. The only problem, though, is Jalen lost the first matchup, but he was phenomenal. Eli, phenomenal in Super Bowls, but not necessarily some regular season superstar. Basically the same with Jalen Hurts. A very good quarterback, but best when it matters the most. How about it? Now, floating in your face, bang and bang, a few other Super Bowl breakdowns. And it is ironic. This was Eli's hometown, and he got shafted out of the Hall of Fame. I don't care what any of you say.